I guess that makes me problematic. All right, thank you guys for watching. You already knew I was problematic even before we started this. So anyway, hi everyone, welcome to my channel. How is it going? Today's video is going to be trigger warning, okay? There's going to be some sensitive topics that are going to be talked about, like domestic violence and assault. If any of that you don't feel like you can handle this video, please feel free to click away. So I've heard this phrase, men are trash, a lot, and I've probably said it at some point myself. I feel like it's a knee-jerk reaction to hearing, you know, that your girlfriend got played by some dude, or hearing about some big assault story in the news.
Yo, killing me with this.
So I was curious and I thought I'd spice it up a little. So I asked you guys on Instagram, are Muslim men trash? That's what I asked you guys. And 44% of you said yes. And a lot of you guys were confused. I got a lot of DMs saying something like, it's not just limited to Muslim men, all men are trash, or something like, obviously not all men. Or the DM was something like, astaghfirullah, are you serious? Why would you say that? You know that that includes religious figures. So let's put a pause on that. We're gonna come back to that. But let's talk about why I think that the term men are trash is thrown around. Now, this whole video is my opinions, okay, and my thoughts and me exploring things. So you don't have to take any of this as fact. Where I feel like this stems from is the frustration of women being on the receiving end of what would be defined as toxic masculinity, which according to Wikipedia is a concept. I'm gonna read this off. Used in academic and media discussions of masculinity to refer to certain cultural norms that are associated with harm to society and men themselves. Now, critics of this concept would say, you know, the term toxic masculinity is very loosey-goosey. With that same logic, there would be a concept of toxic femininity, basically picking out characteristics traditionally associated with women and saying that these big societal issues are a result of those characteristics. But I don't know, maybe toxic femininity will become a thing. Maybe toxic masculinity will be retired as a term. After doing research for this video, I would say I do feel like it's an abstract concept and it's not that easy to like pin down or narrow down. But if we're talking about this term, how I understand it, you know, toxic masculinity is this idea that being a man equals being dominant over women, putting them in their place, being violent, aggressive, that kind of a thing, and that's what makes you a man. Basically, like I would think of, if any of you guys have watched Beauty and the Beast, the character Gaston, you know, Gaston, that guy is a figure that encompasses that concept to me. Now, the thing is, I think I started to get confused as I made this video because I feel like this idea of what a man is and these like toxic aspects of it exist in a lot of cultures, where I do feel like it shows itself in different faces depending on what culture you're talking about, where you're talking about, what region, what the socioeconomics are. Like there's so many factors that go into it. But you know, for this video, I'm gonna be talking very generally using terms like Muslim men, which first of all, Muslim men is it's not a singular thing. It's not like there's a Muslim man. I'm gonna be talking in very general, broad terms, but also being specific at the same time. I don't really know, but there are some like core things that I do want to talk about. I remember in high school, a former friend of mine, bro, the kind of people I used to hang, I don't even know. You know, she said, my mom won't let me date Muslim guys because they're all wife beaters. I might have mentioned this in another video, and I remember she said that and I was just like, okay. Can you blame her for her ignorance though? At that time, portrayal of Muslim men in media, and even now, is not that great. They're portrayed as aggressive, controlling, in general in a very negative light. But yes, I can blame her. And I blame all of you who subscribe to that narrative because you all have brains, so no. But I think that that image is used to justify a lot of hatred and wars against people who look like that. Like I think it's actual propaganda, you know, pushing this narrative of what Muslim men look like and whatever the negative image is in Western media. I think it's definitely very harmful. So that's why I think when I was writing this script, I'm having a difficult time like narrowing down this concept, but I'm still gonna go for it. I'm still gonna do it. But aside from that, talking about now, if you watch a show like 90 Day Fiancé, which is a very educational show, by the way, it's like Magic School Bus. But instead of going inside the human body, we are going inside and navigating some very interesting K-1 visa relationships.
Please change your behavior.
Every season, they always got to throw a Muslim man in there. When you watch 90 Day Fiancé, every episode with a Muslim man goes something like, you know, my family don't accept you, cover yourself, you're a whore.
You know about the guys here, they can marry 4 ladies.
Oh, really?
I don't like you making alcohol illegally in the apartment. He doesn't let me drink. I want my wedding dress to have some cleavage.
No, I've got to drink less. I've got to wear more modest clothing.
You know, this is like literally like copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. Wait, no, I forgot one. It's also, there are a couple in there that it's very obvious that they just want a visa. Like they want to be a rapper in America. And, but hey, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite, okay? Because I watched that show and it is very entertaining. And you could say, Steam, how could you promote that? That's a good question. I don't promote it. I just consume it. Is that promoting it? I guess that makes me problematic. All right, thank you guys for watching. You already knew I was problematic even before we started this. So anyway, it's part of my identity. It's for the identity for my being a problematic. Bad reference, but you know, we're gonna get to the core of what I wanna talk about. There is a lot going on in Muslim communities nowadays. I see it not only in the US, but you know, even when I look at social media from a perspective of what's going on in places like Pakistan, I feel like there's a lot of discourse happening around what happens to women in our cultures, in our communities. I've heard everything from horror stories of people looking for a spouse to the way that Muslim women are treated by their male peers. What I really want to get to is that I don't think that the Muslim community is immune to these issues that society faces at large. For example, the problem of someone in power abusing their power, and even in a religious setting. And we've seen that in other cultures and other religions as well. You know, people coming out about spiritual leaders. Just by the reaction that I've seen, I don't know, it really is discouraging, because it really feels like the amount of women that have to come forward and the amount of vetting that needs to be done for people to believe what they're actually saying is insane to me. How much people continue to support people. It doesn't matter if they're not a perfect person, but I personally feel like if you are making your work about guiding people, you need to live that. You know, you can't be messing around and doing whatever you want to do and then be preaching something to somebody else. You know, it's not a regular job. You know, to say like everybody's human, you're making this your work. So you can't do that. You can't get away with that. Why is that acceptable? Like, no, it's cool. No, it's not. Like going back to, for example, like let's say one of your favorite music artists or some actor comes out. It's not okay for them to do that either. But them being an actor and them being a singer or a rapper or whatever, it's not okay for them to, I'm not excusing what they do, but it's really sick and twisted on another level when your work, when your literal job, what you make a living from is guiding people spiritually and preaching all these things, and you don't even embody those, and you're using that to abuse. Like that to me is like sick and twisted on another level. Seriously, it is. It really disgusts me. The fact that, you know, Muslim communities are so hesitant to open their eyes and, you know, put systems in place so that this doesn't happen. Our approach, why is it like, no, we can't do that. Astaghfirullah. Let's give everybody a chance. First of all, okay, if we're talking about our cultures, let's be honest, okay? At least from the culture that I'm from, it's not innocent until proven guilty. Okay, that's not the way things work when you go to Pakistan or when you're around Pakistanis. Everybody's guilty until they're proven innocent. You don't believe people. You don't, like, that's not how it works. So how come when it is with this thing, it's like, no. Let's give everybody 5 million chances to get away with certain things. But I will say this. I keep going back and forth and I feel like I'm contradicting myself, because I watched the Harvey Weinstein, I watched like a multiple part documentary series by the journalist who broke that news story. And it's insane the amount of time that has passed that he's been able to get away with whatever he was doing, and the amount of women that came forward. Like, it should have ended at that first time that someone went to the police, and it doesn't work that way. What I feel like I learned from that documentary series with the journalist is that I feel people only believe things when there's this institution. Once an institution backs something up, like the New York Times or whatever, where they have like a fact-checking process, that's when people believe what's going on. But it's crazy to me how society is so okay with women being abused, women being the brunt of so much violence and so much injustice, and not even caring. But anyway, it was an eye-opener for me because I was like, okay, I guess this is a societal problem. It's not just my community. I don't think Muslim men are trash. I don't think all Muslim men are trash. I don't think it's anything like that. But I think that from my perspective, the Muslim community has a real problem of addressing a lot of the misogyny and addressing a lot of the real issues that happen to women in our communities, and not willing to face that and, you know, really tackle those things head on. I've seen a lot of reaction to things like people being in abusive relationships and how that's so normalized, and how it's like, yeah, well, what did you say? What did you say for that to happen? Why did he hit you? That's your fault, you know? Oh, just try and work it out, you know? And you know, we also don't go back to the start of these things. Where does all this start? Why is it that, are we teaching like young men at a very young age that this stuff is okay? And I also want to throw it out there that there are some people who really are the opposite of this idea of toxic masculinity. And there are figures and people that we know in our own lives who do not embody those things. And so, yeah, it's not fair to say like all men are evil and all men are bad and all Muslim men are trash. I don't think that's a fair statement, because that's just not true. But I also think that our obsession with not trying to offend people, our difficulty in navigating these conversations because we have other people watching us and using those things against us, inhibits us from like just being honest and tackling these issues, because the truth of the matter is these are real issues. And so I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but I did want to talk about some statistics that I found. According to a study by Peaceful Families and Project Sakina, 31% of American Muslims have experienced domestic violence. And out of 190 Muslims seeking counseling in Virginia, 71% of victims were women. On a national level, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience domestic violence by their intimate partner. 85% are women. That being said, I am working with Muslim Aid USA on raising money because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. If you guys can check out even a small amount that you can donate to that would make a big difference. I think that this is a really, really important cause we really need to start addressing and stop pushing under the rug. And I think it's really important to, you know, support people who are survivors of domestic violence and really break these cycles as much as we can. So any amount that you guys can donate, you guys can check out the link in my description below. Now, another statistics for you guys on a global level, a study of 1,324 pregnant Pakistani women found that 51% had experienced verbal, physical, or SA in the 6 months prior to and or during their pregnancies. Now, we have to be honest about what goes on in our homes and in our cultures and our communities. Violence against women is acceptable. It's considered okay. It's considered, you know, even the verbal, physical, emotional abuse, it's normalized in a lot of places. Gender-based violence is a real issue. I don't think that toxic masculinity is strong enough as a concept to say, here's the link between these two. I can see where the relation is, but I think that's where the toxic masculinity thing kind of falls apart. So according to the World Health Organization, I do have a PDF, which is, I think, posted on they've published it online. I just want to talk about what they've broken down in terms of understanding violence against women. So they talk about different risk factors that increase or decrease the risk of femicide. So from the perspective of being a perpetrator, a lot of things go into it. So there's things like unemployment, gun ownership, drug use, alcohol use, mental health problems, and then, you know, gender inequality, reduction in government spending on these areas, protective factors, things like, you know, the laws around firearms and that kind of a thing. What increases your risk for being a victim are things like pregnancy. Dude, that's crazy. That pregnancy is a risk. Like that statistic that I showed you guys, that's mind-blowing to me, that pregnancy increases your risk for that. Basically, all the risk factors are all about leaving an abusive relationship. So getting back to what I was talking about earlier, how did I get from like, oh, Muslim men are trash to like this really, really serious, heavy stuff that I'm talking about? And, you know, I'm gonna wrap this up. Here's how I feel. I don't think general statements like men are trash or toxic masculinity are that helpful in the grand scheme of things. I can see how they begin some sort of discourse, but I feel like they kind of fall apart the more you dig into them. On the other hand, I also feel like a lot of people are not ready for the conversation about how society values women, you know, how we treat women, especially in our own communities, how safe they are. So, you know, going off of that, I did look up World Health Organization, their statistics and all that. I looked up what they believe is the best approaches to ending something like gender-based violence. Okay, so here we have strengthen surveillance and screening of femicide and intimate partner violence. Train and sensitize health staff. Train and sensitize police. Increase prevention and intervention research. Reduce gun ownership. Strengthen surveillance research and laws and awareness of murders in the name of honor. And the reason why I'm bringing that in is because I feel like when we talk about these things at different levels, this is why I say I think that these general statements are not that helpful, because what I feel like is really going to bring change is awareness, and that falls in the category of awareness. I think that we really need to look at where are we drawing what it means to be a man. Does being a man mean being a womanizer, being dominant? What is the compass for that, and what should it be? I'm talking directly to Muslims. You know what that's supposed to be. And I think we know that a lot of people don't embody that. You know, being aggressive, being violent towards women, being emotionally abusive, all these things are very against what we believe in. Yet they're so prominent in so many of our societies and in our culture. I think that these are things that really need to be looked at. I think we need to look at these things from a holistic view, and we have to come together to not continue these cycles. Now, that's all I have to say. So in conclusion, no, not Muslim men are not trash. They're not what you see on 90 Day Fiance. Not every Muslim guy is gonna be like that. Society at large has a problem with women. I think that society doesn't like women. But I have another video coming out about my feelings about feminism, gender roles, that kind of a thing. So you guys stay tuned for that. This is kind of just a filler video, and really I wanted to get it out because I do want to raise money for that cause. So like, comment, subscribe. Check out the link in the description below if you guys would like to donate. Even just a little bit helps. And if you're interested in listening to the podcast or anything else, let me know. But feel free to leave me a comment, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. I love hearing your guys' thoughts, except for when you guys tell me I'm trash. That's the only time that I'm like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to read comments. But anyway, TazzyPhe out. Bye. See you next time.